in. Song of the Ondumbulu 138, page 180. Annunzio drifted in a well of sound. Unlay's ward, late orphan, a wry erotics had its way. He called himself Antonio now, Adja having joined our group. Dune-like hip and thigh, he stipulated. The desert, he insisted, we see. We understood there was occult stuff going on underneath, telling ourselves, get used to it. Close to the bone, so close it lay inside the closer walk we all went on about. We were in Port of Spain, thinking about India, bored outside the Red House, shimmering side street, pan exactitude bruited elsewhere, Pan's light water, floating light. The light hung as though it were buffed, embroidered, sounds amanuensis, griff. There they were at the well again, the we he'd been told would be there. What said ensemble, the air disinterred, hit by affliction, in each their own way, beset by some other where there might have been, beset by some other when there might have been, beset by some nether light. If not bodily light's late day, there was nothing. The not all there'd always been, come into its own. Wind affliction was all there was, rent a mere lip-like wrinkle at least. Back when we were alive, it said, literal sigil, sage regret, a way of looking, something we saw, sealed lips wheeled in the air, we translated it. The point was to look past it, we saw. He wanted Adja's poise, Antonio's aplomb, namesake, demure, name notwithstanding. So it was he blinked, and his eyes bled, wry erotics, haunched, interstice, blood-struck, never again be fit, Mr. In-Between. The Kaiso chorale we sang Namaste, a voice inside the box, tongue in cheek, box buried somewhere, east. It wasn't singing we were there for, chant, though we did sotto voce, an agonized aplomb of some sort. And Ibibio, go-head we each turned into, not meaning to. Go-heads, one and all we were, snide choir. To sing wasn't why we were there. What it was names tore loose, took wing. What world had been ours, theirs now, sound itself. Annuncio's wells regress. So that what we sought was more tone, mock sonance, science, and amalgam of ha, wah, ha, knowing's new toll, wah, ha. We were where the songs had been beckoning from. This was as it always was. This was always it, no matter what it was. All the things it was lay nameless. Roots drew loose with no tonic. It, whether it or not it was. An aroused incumbency surrounded us, unlays fallaway terrains, intangibility, Antonio's adjunct address. We were down to the it of it seemed. Was it the shimmer of last things, we wondered? Queasiness come and gone, come again. There the very it, so what it was our knees gave, so close we could taste it. Nonce elixir, lapse, ellipse, all of which Adja made light of, unsure what of it fit, or if any of it fit. You can't come on with all that new name talk, that no-name stuff, all that evacuation stuff, she said. Gets old, got old, as Antonio carried on, kept on, Annunzio to some of us even so. All as if the quality of standing there shifted, a new cast of soul come down. Some common body to deduce it would someday come to. We stood on the dock, white clouds, blue sky all around, spiked Antillean salt in the air. Big ships loomed as we talked. Each of us with our well of sound, a sense of quest and of brute inconsequence, Annuncio's mystic pretense. Promises, promises, we said, sucking our teeth, said sucking wind through the gaps between our teeth, a taunt song serenading Mr. In-Between. We stood looking out, disconsolate. Nothing, if not words, for recompense. What if not words none of us knew? Words more whistle than words, we admonished, Annunzio going on about Antonio and Aja, the he and she of lore they'd have been had they been able, each the other's butterfly twin, each the other's butterfly friend, if not all that, paperweight, open, flown, second, third, nth hand innuendo, all there was. Word more whistle, mere whistle, we let loose, echo degree zero, choric sue, soft, black wheeze, occult burr, we susurrated. Este mundo tan extraño, she intoned, as we as well. Aja was meat and bones on the spirit of place he convinced us existed, an impromptu policy exhumed. The feeling we were futureless went away. Wah! Ha! Went as well. An inwardly repeated tableau. We sat on the dock, reluctant witnesses. It seemed more story to the story than we could see. What we thought real got a gossamer look, soon to tear through it, it seemed. Litic remit, what we'd been told was real, brute reconnoiter, nonsonant lament, it seemed. There we stood, tolling bone in the air, no tone. Huff called it skeletone. There we sat, through though we stood, stood though we sat, stark Trinidadian light, a new life, shoal of an earlier life. I wanted Annuncio's isthmic pivot, Aja's mystic sachet, Antonio's pirate swag rolled into one, but no one was asking me. No one was noticing anything I thought. The difference Aja made no matter, an order of self-containment obtained. So I thought, or would have said I thought, had anyone asked. No one did, said or saw, an illusion of place or an allusion to it. Moo was all there was, unmoored, abstract integument, imminent, commemorative lament. Something known as Lala crowded my throat, clung to the roof of my mouth. Lala meant I loved it, torn but tucked away, the versionary company of love I'd fallen in with. First unfallen, fallen, unreformed. No time soon will I be done with it, I thought. Lala mentored my disarray. No way can I be done with it, I thought. Aja and Antonio, Annuncio's boon constituency, each the other's go-ahead eminence, each the other's glancing relay. Late that day we sat on a small boat on the other side of the island. Scarlet ibises got their color eating shrimp, Aja pointed out. Annuncio, not knowing what to say, said, So my heart. Moo was not knowing. Moo meant shutting up. Moo was me and Aja, me and Mrs. In-Between. Moo meant no filler. Promises, promises resounded all day. Something we saw in Aja's face wanted out, it seemed. She was the one we had by not having Laura had it. Love's adamant outskirts, love's dogmatic heart. I made untimeliness a foregone future, something seen in a face, a new order to restore. I saw gold where there maybe wasn't, beer cans lined on the rail we leaned against, aught, if not imagined, impact. We, the presumption of one, a long sustension of hum it came down to. Om, the Vedic nu, we reminisced. Om, the seed's syllabic gist and embellishment. Om, the intuitist mu. Greek to me, each of us admitted. Thrum, we were ambushed by. Glum, subterranean drone, strung under it. Mosquito buzz, athwart it all. I dreamt I died and I went into an isolation booth, a quiz box I dug my breath up in. Please call me Antonio, I whispered, head against the hardness of the bone beneath her breast, an anacrustic psalm, a new dearly beloved. What to say, but there was nothing to wag as much we might. Something of which we had a name if nothing else. Something for which we had the name if nothing else. Something for which we had a name if nothing else. Something of which we had the name if nothing else. Accompaniment called out to me in dreams. I woke wincing from, in its grip, in the grieving of it, Something new came out, a new and old something, the thought of which made me weep. The very thought of it I thought I knew. But who really knew, I wondered, winding back down, again feeling futureless. Further on's would-be walk, no new accompaniment, arguments rhyme and regret.
I'll be glad to go. As if it were, this is our music. New 118th part. Heaved our bags and headed out again. Again, the ground that was to have been there wasn't. Bits of ripcord crowded the box. My head had become. The sense we were a band was back. The sense we were a band or in a band. The rotating gate time turned out to be creaked. We pulled away. The Lord Invaders Reform School band it was we were in, or Pseudo-Dionysian Fife Corps, the Movie and Wind Extet. The sense we were a band or were in a band had come back. Names, wicked sense, we called timbre, numbers, crooked sense, our bequest. Clap it, T teared near to abstraction. The band was what to be, there was. Band was what it was to be there. We shouted, band, all we thought it would be. Band was a chant that we chanted, what we chanted. Chant said it all would be all right. A new band, our new name was the Abandoned Ones. No surprise. We dwelt in the well-being that awaited us. Never not sure we'd get there. What way we were yet to know. I stood pat. A rickety 66 tapped out a scarecrow jig in waltz time, big toe blunt inside my shoe. Who was I? To so rhapsodize, I chided myself. Who to so mark myself, chill teeth suddenly forming, reforming, who to let my heart out to, so to be at odds with myself resounded. Sound's own city, the wall I hit my head against. Paulus was to be, and to be so hit. We heard clamor, clash, blue consonants, noises, low, sibling, sense. We pumped our arms as though they were pistons, elbows in and out. We nicked our name to abandon. Abandon was our name now. Thus was our music, no music. Music, too, we left behind. Everything beside the point that there was no point. Everything thus the point. Thus was being their sibling sense gone treble. The balm to be a band, the true amenity music was. The fact of having been there new to its Buddha nature. The fact of having been there moot. To have been there wasn't Dasein. No Heidegger told my horse. Trussed up to the side, it sat, pressed and preponderant, sovereign, self-contained. Were it music, the music we sloughed. Slipped accompaniment, surrogate cloud, wrapped, adjournment, adjutant, surrogate cue. I kept clear of it, caught up at arm's length. But all but caught out I came to see. Thus was our music, no music. It seemed, I said, music more than music, I might have said, might as well have said. No matter, I mumbled, otherwise under my breath. The Freedmen's Debate Society, our name now was, the Ox Tongue Speaker Exchange, fractal scratch, nominative serration, cutaway run, cutaway arrest. Thus was our music, no music. I did say's default on sing such as it was. We called it history, even so, insisted it, the it crowding the corner of everyone's eye. None of us were not crept up on, none not required. We sing it, say it, Thus was our say, not so. Beginning again for the multeenth time, we counted off. It was our multeenth breakdown, multeenth new beginning. Brass rubbed off on our lips. Reed rubbed off as well. String steel left on our fingertips. Stick wood left on our thumbs. Will someone be next? Or do you want
Song
me
of
to?
the Andambolo, 140. Sat assessing what I told my horse. A grudge against the cosmos, it seemed. Sat up where I lay busted up. Sipped water, a dream of heavenly give, absolution. Found a sort of inside song. Auric body, our bodies dissolve it. Seemed at first fade. We were hoisted by. Auric body, the smell of my body, her body. There, though I lay busted up. Love spoken of as if by angels. Raw, not on the box, but on the box, had there been one. Wings spread beneath our legs, musk. Frisk and conceit, circumlocution. There that we were there, that busted up, meant also elsewhere. Far we each otherwise were. The dream book fell open, lay open. Water's priority, the doctrine I espoused. Arcade, whose game we lay in. Mantic trek we continued to be on, afloat for what seemed all time. Auric body animated by wave, ripple, an ocean or pond we were in. I lay busted up, as did we both. Love lay busted up. Same old, looked out on the other side. An approach note we hit were what it was. We did music as if, as before, it were, this is our music. Beauty, the rare thing it was. Fell asleep on the train from Barcelona. Some other life revisited, it seemed. The allure, light, gave it all, was back, no matter, I lay busted up. I woke up on a train on the way to LA. So light the carriage our bodies took on, we could only giggle. The ruse of what we wanted, fooling no one. Love's light pliancy, plumbed. Air's excitation, such it was, all we could do, not to blush. Auric body, modest body, touches inner touch. Ambient, circumambient, haptic, ipsedity, hapticity, city itself. Reunion was the air, there but barely. The sense we took to, tenuous as it was. We lay busted up on the train, barely back again. The we whose way we were told, would be ours. The we whose horse we'd be. Auric body, oracular body, foreboding. What was to come? In and out of states of possession. Train pulling in, train pulling out. Dozed off in Spain. Woke up on a train leaving Anaheim. Nodded off again. Looked out at a ditch beside the tracks. Rut we remembered. Rut running parallel. Rut we were hounded by. Slogan. Thus the whistle I blew, blare I blew. Call me Humpty Dumpty. I got up insisting. In so far eyes mount, so tenuous it shook the wall. Between eye and eye, so weak it fell. I was trying to say something about selfhood. I was beginning to make a speech, but autumn foliage got in the way. Trains leaving stations, a thing I sang about. Vain, what was once had been. The dead were getting to be more familiar. A sense of impending crowded the space we shared, made to lean like desire, a whispered singing of sorts, sing, run, as one with sigh. Kala, Parusha, blue gauge on the poverty box. We awoke not knowing where we were. Flags of smoke, the placards we lifted. Our nation, no nation we knew. Newly risen, newly fallen. Obsequy, all there was. Newly bunched arrivancy. To be was to be in the thick of it. The boon to be there was. Something I said to myself, someone heard me say. We had the sense we were in someone's head. Heaven's head it was, or so the sign said. The heavy freight we pulled in on, pulling out. No sooner there than gone again and again. Heaven's heist, heaven's hair, whose perfume we lay taken out by. Heaven's head of hair, we fell back running, our fingers through. Heaven's nether lips, not the least of it. Heaven's immaculate loin musk, hand on my hand, on her thigh. Stolen moment, moment's Gnostic draw. Heaven whose mouth we each owned. Heaven was all we knew. Love's reminiscent bodies, distillation. Heaven whose mutual crotch we rummaged in. Heaven whose horse we'd be. Graduation whose horizon hair was. Tactilities peppered a dress. Strain and striation. Love's carriage. Love's rough legs lay in wait. Utopia we turned our attention to. The analogy we knew heaven by. Knew it by the one analogy we knew. Likening the like we knew. The zone we were in had an underness to it. Scrub cover, worry the freight we rode us. Don't look back, they were saying. Those ahead of us, don't look back. We passed it on. The zone we were in stole heat from heaven. A grained abrasion in the distance, beckoning nigh. Rub ran as one with erasure, but abided. There, that we were there, the same as we were. We sat talking, taking shots at politicians, it might have been. We might have been run out on a rail. Our nation, no nation, it was getting to be self-evident. Cement-colored sky bearing down. We rode on saying we'd never look back. looking back in so sane, some pointed out. We rode on announcing the book of burnt pages. Rides fall from water, siphoning water. See water. Ride scavenging heaven. See through husk. Tryst. Reminiscent travel. There that we were. There that. Getting there lay busted up. Trek drawn in on in bits. Bitten into. Track we rode out on. It was the book of burnt pages index we thumbed. Run, part contagion. CC ride we caught. A drowsy sense of attendance came over us, wondrous heavy of yore. Of the moment remit we so lazy embraced. A swung somnambulance, it seemed. Moments remit, moments respite. No reminiscence, no regret. Me with my hand on her shoulder, she with her head on my chest. We lay convalescent, love's incumbency of late. The city of sad children within earshot, sad stewardship we took ourselves to. Sad to say we lay busted up, as they lay busted up, hollow whose keep an asthmatic flute recalled us to. There's the rhapsodic lament, it was ours to unstitch. Fond auspice, we now knew ribcage to ribcage, talismanic press, flesh, bone, sonic hostages, we heard them threaded everywhere. The book of burnt pages, their book. Bodily advance where there was none. Spirit's recompense. Tempted to allegorize, we saw Nub undone. In the moving room, we dozed off. We sat up looking. No music on the box, no box at all, it seemed. The box had sunken into the earth. We sat with eyes popped wide against the window, leaned against the window looking out. Spirits remit, part poverty box, buried, repercussed in a way we could see. The box gone underground, got into us, deep starvation box. The box gone underground, got inside our heads. Block remit, the block gone underground, so infused it all. We looked and saw nonce, facade. We popped our fingers to even so. All might hollow, draw hollow, hallow. All might moon fall full. All run, come, true. Nub's new facelift sagged. We pinched ourselves. It was getting to be cold outside. Nub's Afghan eternity chilled us to the bone. Hammers hit our ribs marimba-like, a wood rescinded icicle sound. Thus it was we rode sleep's critique. World beyond world as we stood looking, wide awake. Athwart what would not be the end of it. My hand on her shoulder, her head on my chest, her hand on my shoulder, my head on her chest. We, the irreducible two, we'd have had it. The heaven of what came, to hand all we had. Road we made our way along, looking. Spirits redoubt, Nub's forfeiture, book of the sunken box, the book of burnt pages burning again. Some of it had hold. We wouldn't let go. Bitten into, hopped a rail, we'd say. I whose I rode in Safari's horse, as though I lay on my back, spinning my wheels, looking up at the sky, as though the ground rode my back. I lay on my back, looking up at the sky. The Ornette Johnson Express, the train I rode, hell's hounds, heaven's horses, blue continents, the rarity run was.
Okay, I'll pick up Lone Coast Recension. Okay. Moo, 120th part. Itamar stood brooding, overlooking the bay. The art of time he'd been getting good at suddenly, lost in its low harmonics. I was his main man, he was saying, had been since we met in Brazil. He had been reading Sophia's Lineaments of When. Sophia, whose hard looks he loved, his Magus, rough bay water, thoughts mantle, his at her behest. The arc and the ailment of when the gist of it, mused upon grab, the grade of it, whose or of whom we debated, wondering which his and her platonic dialogue had re-begun. We leaned on the rail, looking out where gray water met gray sky, the self-consuming soma, the book touched on, we talked about. Itamar asking, how could that have been? Damned if I know, I shrugged. Gulls blown out to sea, blown featherless, it seemed. Something caught in the batting of an eye. The lineaments of when, the book said, such that dram ran as one with drinker, the psychotropic lord of that realm, the realm itself. How could that have been? Itamar kept asking. Damned if I know. I again went to say, but I bit my tongue. The gulls blown out to sea, having blown back in, fully feathered again. Block body, block gyration, nod auspice. Itamar's mantic body, Sophic book. He was turning as he talked, a slow dervish, arms out away from his body, hands hanging, wrought fingers working the air for what the book meant. Combed air, cracking the code. I thought to take a step away, get a better look. Step there to be taken, it turned out. So tight my legs were, blown gull, epiphany too, much it turned out. Feathered, unfeathered, refeathered, more than I could take. Gray day, gray auspice, we disquisited underneath. Itamar's belated Q&A with Sophia's book. Book he knew inside out. He argued with. Book he stood a student of. There we stood, him whirling toward the water, thin rail holding him back. I leaned on the rail, recalling what I could of Sophia's book, self-imbibing soma, the least exact of what came to me. Gray eminence, the water and sky were adjunct to. Mindset and setting, run as one some clue I missed. I told myself the title again and again. The lineaments, the mystery of when seemed only obvious, too true. It could only do as it was. The one thing I remembered, announcing which caught Itamar's ear. He stopped whirling. What? I fell back on, insisting on the it of it. The ease of so putting it, off-putting, I recognized. The it of it, I said, is what the it of it, the what of is what the it, the is of it. That's what she was getting at. A vulgarity of sorts, Itamar called out, spit like froth on the waves tumbling in. The is of its correlative, he explained. We stood on the fringe of the habitable world. The sea and the sky were gray matter. Gulls were optional feathers. So it was we leaned out, stood leaning. The rail held us back. A tenuous foothold it was we were on. Talk took us there, I wanted to say, but he beat me to it. A vulgarity we can't afford, he said. This or that is, this or that it of it, yours or Sophia's, either way. It wasn't what I'd have said. It wasn't what I meant to say. It wasn't what I went to say. I meant in some other way to say we'd gone too far. Talk took us there, I said. The book took us there. The book took us in, I might well have said. The spit like froth kept tumbling in, a kind of cosmic reproach, it seemed. The gulls blew out and blew back in and blew back out, feathered and unfeathered, refeathered again and again, right above where the Capora class had been. Whatever the mood was, had come over everything. We were all in it, of it, the in of it, spooked by Sophia's book, the lineaments of when, nowhere, if not there, the lineaments of where, never, if not then. I saw it in my eye's eye. I saw it in my heart of hearts. Itamar put his hand on his chest as if taking an oath, struggling to hold himself up. He tossed his head back and squawked, a seagull's cry. He was in the early morning cups, he called music. No la-la came out, but it might as well have a tossed bird's aria, a shaken bird's etude. I heard it with an ear athwart hearing, heard it in my heart of hearts. All outdoors chimed in. The air squawked in solidarity, gray sky, spit-like, spume. I heard something at the same time sub-squawk, blown lifted wing, blown lifted feather, a sound exacting the play of light on wood, gray day, no matter, lone turned gray. In my ears eye, I saw them dance. In my ears eyes eye, I saw them incubate green and silver, gray, but with color in concert with the sky. The reed again one with the rush. Itamar's moment, dexterity, so of the in of it, vulgate, bind, and redoubt. Well, that did me in. Someone else pick it up, please.
I'll pick it up. I didn't read a very long section. Din and redoubt. To speak with Itamar overlooking the beach was to find an eye or an ear possessing an eye or an ear possessing an eye or an ear, the true tumescence of when Sophia's delight was to be of the book. He said his too to be of it, only not as much. She it was, he said, whose walk lit the way, wherefore the book, roost, beauty, recompense, insufficient even so. To be lit was to burn slowly, a blister welling up. The is, or the it, the ooze of it, vulgate, rub and release, a vulgarity of sorts, he'd say every now and then. The phrase came loose from what it was stuck to at first, an ictic insolence the more he repeated it, the thing whose name it was, if it named anything, a vulgarity of sorts. He all but spat, consonant with the waves tumbling in. He went back to the book, but came away from it back as though the break were the book, which it was. Where was it, if not in a break? We stood, I wondered, herons and egrets lifting up from the marsh nearby, reeds and the like, right at the water's edge. Where was it? I rhetorically asked. The low rung of the river lay to our right, falling seaward. No way to be where we were unalloyed. Broken water collapsed, hatch, fallen rung, sunken lock, flank we were shadowed by. Wherefore the book, there being more than one, where would be containment, step fallen out from under. There we stood on the next rung down, dust on our feet from the summer step we stood abreast of, caroling more than one when the tumescence of when was our book outside the book, a see-through hymnal we sang from Andambaludus and Andambalus dust in our throats. The tumescence of when was part Philomena, part filler, a book we coughed our throats out reading from. Thus, the ta, well, he worked, sublime substrate, query, quibble, quirk, platonic two-step, a vulgarity of sorts, titrated, sublime, sulfate, lexemes lined in a row. He recollected the log he'd sat on hatching balloons toward the back of the beach, the grain of Sophia's neck, hand, face, the closing up of when a dry, succulent, oppressed ice plant, a stain on the page. To what end, I wasn't sure, except to say it had hold of him. Lone Coast recension, a kind of pixie dust, breathy book his wish blew through, lit precipitate, something a smile brought to light, something the sun, outdone, backed away from, lit remnant the new epiphany. Gray day, gray water, gray sky. He said it was the book of being there. He called it the book of having been there, but for looking on, and also by looking on. There, but not all there, no matter where. Wherefore the book. Sophia sat him down, he said. Her book sat him down on the learner's bench. He said, sat him down on a rotting log, sat him down on a smooth, round rock. He said, sat him down on a rock-hard zazen pillow, sat him down on what felt like a throne. Itamar was a ghost, haunting the spot on the beach where he'd met Sophia, the house they'd eaten couscous in, the cliff the Capera class practiced on. They'd lain in the sand one night, bored, but for the book that came after, a lighting up as latency rose, a lightening up, hot, stuffy room the world had become. Clothes on, off, on, platonic either way, knowing what wasn't might not suffice, each toward the other's loins bouquet. There they'd lain, blasé. This the taunt song running through them as they lay. Slogan. It wasn't what he thought it was, no matter what he thought it was, a ravenous ghost gorging on crumbs, sand mixed in, no matter, salt mixed in, good as gold, sweet savor. It wasn't what he thought it was, a swing or a swell, sweet riches not so rich, all not lost, likewise.
Takes a little time to let that sink in.
His syntax,
Yeah, it's tough. Some of that stuff you
crazy
gotta
stuff.
read real slow.
Well, if I mess it up, y'all correct it in your minds.
Yeah, that's the way it's done. I love the Ed Dorn reference. I hope Susan you got that on page 190. To have been there wasn't Dasein. No, Heidegger told my horse. So it's a definite call out to Gunslinger on that, it appears to me. Um, and Mackey comes from that Black Mountain tradition. So, and of course, Ed Dorn went there. Ed Dorn said he was educated at the University of Illinois and uneducated at Black Mountain College. I love that. The next piece, the Song of the Andumbulu 142, Moments Omen, he read at the City Lights reading. So if I'm doing and if I'm doing my homework, I can find that online, and maybe next time we can start with that and we can have him read it. So, and in fact, the one after that too, all accruing to the one. He read both of those. I'm hoping that I can have my act together where I have it queued up and ready to go, so we can just play it in a couple of
That'd be
weeks.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, to hear him
Nice
say
to
it.
hear, it'd be nice to hear his the way he handles those rhythms and in that kind of melodic, very kind of melodic way,
Mhm.
and very smooth.
Do you want me to drop that link in the chat here so you have it?
Do you have it handy?
I think so. Let's see here.
Yeah, when he reads, he purposely reads toning it down. He doesn't want it to be like quote unquote performance, so he doesn't punch it up at all. It's very even keel, very laid back, and of course he's, who better to read their work than the person who wrote it? I mean, you can get more out of it when you do read it, or when you do listen to someone who wrote it, of course. All right, there it is. So for those who want to go ahead, and there's two of the next two poems that he read at that, and the one called All Accruing to the One.
Oops.
Say again?
How does that
You go down to the
Jane,
chat.
Go to chat.
On the
Click
bottom
the
of
little.
screen, there's a little.
Run your cursor down to the bottom. Chat pops up.
Okay. Great, thank you.
And I just copy and paste into a Word document or an email.
Well, you can also see those three dots under the chat there next to File.
Oh, that's right.
If you click on that, you can save the chat.
There you go.
And it just boom, you get a text. I think it's a .txt, a text document. So
Excellent. Okay.
What about thoughts on the material? Anyone want to chime in on what we heard tonight?
What are you asking, Paul?
Any thoughts about what we heard, what we read tonight?
Well, I'm just amazed at how he spreads the range of his referentiality for one, but also I guess I keep trying to, when I hear this, and I'm not that familiar with this particular piece of writing of his, but it's the same as with any other of his almost Song of the Andumbulu, that I try to figure out the narrative, right? And that kind of, that's a little bit of a trick, I think, to get sucked into the narrative, because what's happening, it seems more interestingly, is the more immediate thing. So in one sense, I want to read a stanza or a stanza graph kind of over and over and over. I haven't done that, but because there's an awful lot going on within that frame that he sets up. So anyway, I think it's just amazing stuff. I made notes about the Mr. and Ms. in between. I'm kind of curious to get into, go back to Crosby, I guess. Bing Crosby.
The box references the essayists in Destination Out, Rachel Blau Duplessis, Norman Finkelstein, Joseph Donahue, Peter O'Leary, and others, as edited by Gene Huving. I forget which of those essayists said it, but the box is a metaphor for the human mind. So even though he's referencing things on the box and he's calling out specific pieces of music that are on the box. Um, they believe that that's what the metaphor is. And then when you read the box had sunken into the earth, that notion that we're in a bardo, a purgatory
Right.
type scene continues to come back. There are political references, our nation, no nation, it was getting to be self-evident, and references to nub, which he called out in Splay Anthem as, another way of looking at the United States. And of course, he's looking at, this is before the Black Lives Matter, I think, really started happening, where he's writing here in this, but obviously there was already the need for that kind of movement. So he's alluding to that. So it's fascinating, the auric body, to have references like that and to be reminded that this is some kind of bardo or purgatory narrative, and keeps coming back. You can go up, you take 2 steps and then maybe 3 steps back. When you're thinking about following the narrative, you're kind of in that kind of herky jerky way. So yeah, that.
Yeah, and it always feels like you're in between. Bardo that's very apt. I felt that very much too. Where they are and the kind of movement within the Bardo.
Yeah, on page 132, he references Brown versus the Board of Education, the quote unquote landmark Supreme Court ruling. But he calls out Brown versus Bardo. So he's making a little
Yeah.
twist on that. And of
Right.
course, the Brazilian music reference, João Bosco, Califado de Quimeras, and Jorge Ben, Hermes Trismegisto, Escrúvio. I added those 2 tunes to the playlist. So if you want to go to that, they'll be at the bottom. But
Right.
I can do the phone with Spotify on one hand and be able to get it in there. So yeah, and they came up pretty easily. So
Thank you.
yeah, well, it's a kick. I get a kick out of those Spotify playlists. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask have you people been reading this as we did tonight, just sort of straight through? And this is as far as you've gotten? Excellent. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, 2 more books after this. We're at page 215. I was talking to someone who said this is over 1,000 pages, and he wrote this in 6 years. It took Ezra Pound 40 years to write the cantos, and this is larger than that. So it's fascinating to have this. It just stays in my desk drawer here on top of my desk drawer, and I leave it open, and I just go to it the next. I don't like to go ahead. It's like cheating. We're reading my 9-year-old daughter Don Quixote, and so when she goes on vacation, it sits on the side of the bed, and we wait till she gets
Do you
back.
find he moves back and forth? He's referencing his own work a lot?
Mackie?
Very much. Yeah, Nate, Mackey. If he's
Well, there are a lot of themes. He's got this jargon that he's inventing. Words that he's inventing. Ismic. The book Destination Out goes into this. Hang on, I'll get it. Can I get it real quick? Do I have it over there? Destination Out. Oh shit. Anyway, in Destination Out, he's got many of the commentators talk about his different neologisms. So ismic is clipped rhythm and has to do with myth. So it's a play on mythic, ismic. YTHMIC, I guess it is. And there's others. Insofar allusions to Rastafarian speak, I and I talking about, holiness, almost like a namaste kind of gesture from Rastafarian culture. I thought I had put the Gene Huving back. I guess. Oh no, I have it under the Mackey. Hang on, just. So I've got some notes. When I did the interview with her, I was preparing for it, and insofarian, nonsonance is another one. What sayer is this person who, when a story is being told, he has to make the storyteller clarify. He's like, he's skeptical, so he's the what sayer. One of Mackey's books, What Said Seraph, alludes to
Yeah.
that. And, you know,
Yeah.
I always think of the
Yeah.
Ohio Players record, Roller Coaster of Love. Say what? So the What Sayer is going, say what? You know, the guy's telling the story. He's like, say what? So the What Sayer is explained on page 20, 36, and 42. And Itham, page 37. I'll give you an example of that. If I go to page 37, this is from Peter O'Leary. Where does it say? Itham. Mackey, in the introduction display anthem, Mackey offers a definition of Itham, so you can also go there. A neology he discovered in his poetry, explaining the origins and procession of the Link series Mu and Song of the Undumbulu through the course of his work. He writes, "The Song of the Undumbulu is one of burial and rebirth. Mu, momentary utterance extended into ongoing myth, an impulse towards signature, self-elaboration, finding and losing itself. The word for this is itham, clipped rhythm, anagrammatic myth. Revisitation suggests that what was and, by extension, what is might be otherwise." And of course, by myth, Olson quotes Harrison, quoting Aristotle, I mean the arrangement of the incidents. So that's in this book, Destination Out, published by University of Iowa Press,
Right.
just in the last few months. Mr. Pinch and other references in there. So
Did you say he uses nub for the US?
yeah, nub as the U.S. has become with, and Rachel Blau Duplessis tends to believe that's a post-Reagan state. So she doesn't come out and say during the time of neoliberalism, which kind of started during Carter, but we give him a break because he's built all those houses for Habitat for Humanity.
Right.
But I think it's nub is, if one were to say, it's when the U.S. made the turn towards neoliberalism, which I think is an accurate sort of thing. The New Deal was unassailable before Reagan, and Reagan really helped take it out, and we're still recovering from that.
Right. Well, thanks everyone for your session tonight. I'm going to
Fred,
get into that.
a delight to have you here. Thanks for dropping in on our little Zoom room.
Well, I think it's wonderful. I just Linda just mentioned it to me, and we were about something else, and I had the book on order, and it just showed up. So
All right.
I'll try to be here in 2 weeks.
Second and fourth Monday, and good luck with smoke, and stay cool, and good to see you. And it's funny that you should pop in. I just got this in the mail today.
Daphne's book, right?
Isn't that funny? Isn't that
Right.
funny? And by the way,
That's the one she was working on? That's the new one?
then now, yeah. She sent it to me. I
That's
said,
her father's letters and that she plays with. Yeah.
Cool.
yeah, a lot of personal myth in that. And I'll be seeing her. We're going to be traveling August 16th. 16th. That's the third. See how cleverly I did that vacation? I went on the third Monday and not the second or fourth. It's like we'll miss a session. Anyway, I get to see Daphne and Bridget and Adelia. I'm going up to see Adelia. So anyway, Fred, a delight to have you here. Thanks for popping in. I hope to see you in a couple of weeks.
Nice to meet you, Jane and Susan.
Nice to meet you.
Hope to see you in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
That would be great.
Bye-bye.
So Matt gave me an email saying he'd had to pick up a guy at the airport, so he'd forgot it was Mackey. It was Mackey Monday.
Mackey Monday.
And
I'm having trouble getting my here we go. Oh my God, the camera. I had a piece of tape over it because of, spyware and shit. There's gunk all over it. Now I have to figure out how to clean it without wrecking it.
ain't that a pisser?
Well, if I look this way for the rest of my life, well, there you go.
Is it? It just adds to the kind of woo feeling you have with because every now and then you drop out and we don't see you. It's
I
like, ooh,
do.
yeah.
I do. That's because of this virtual background, because I refuse to clean my office. It's hard.
I understand.
We'll see you all in 2 weeks. Take care, everybody.
Take care, Jane. All right, Susan. Well, um, I hope you're doing okay. Thanks for
Thank you.
reading.
You as well. Thank you.
You having fun with postcards?
Not yet.
Uh-oh,
That's
late start.
not late.
I
Isn't it August? It's the
well,
August Fest.
used to be. Used to
Oh,
be. August starts on the 4th of July, if you ask me.
okay.
I like to stretch out August, take up most of July. All right, well, thanks for being here. Good to see you. Stay out of trouble.
You too. Thank you.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.